the meeting, Bay County Veterans Affairs Committee to order on Tuesday, January 21st, 2020. Roll call, please.
Sure. Lazars?
Here.
Pergandy?
Here.
Stewart?
Here.
Van Tol?
Here.
And B. Gick.
Here.
All present.
Minutes from 12/17/2019.
The minutes were submitted to the director. The director didn't get them out, so I'd make a motion we hear them. That's the last one we just did, right?
December.
December? Oh,
Yeah, these
make
are-
a motion to
Yep.
accept the December minutes.
I got
I
it.
got a month ahead of myself.
Second.
Is that a motion? Motion then? Okay.
Motion to accept the December.
Support, Marilyn. Any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Citizens' inputs. Step forward, state your name. Nobody's getting up. Oh, Mark.
Hi, my name is Mark Smith. I'm head of the food pantry over on Johnson Street for the veterans. It's been going very well. Everybody's jumped aboard, all the veterans organizations. I even had UAW that came up to me now, and they're jumping aboard with us to help us out with our food pantry. I hope that the Marine Corps and Post 18 will jump aboard with us too, because it's been really, really fantastic. We have helped 3 full families now with full set-down meals. They have been back twice now. The one, we found out that she was a Purple Heart. We started getting her, brought her up here, and she started getting all of her benefits. She will be getting all of her benefits and everything for her and her family. That was a family of 5, 4 kids and a baby, and the man and wife. But it was fantastic, and I want to tell everybody that's been involved, thank you for what you have done. It's been an honor and a pleasure, and I'm going to keep plugging along as much as I can to keep this thing up and running best I can, because I'm there 7 days a week too. And if anybody calls in, I can take care of them right now on the spot. Thank you.
Would you like to give them your phone number and your location?
Village Hall, phone number is 450-9712. Call me anytime. I will take care of you right there on the spot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again. I appreciate everything you guys have done.
Okay, thank you. Any other citizens' input? Any other citizens' input? Last call. All right. Petitions and Communications, 2020 grant update. I guess that would be Mr. Goulet.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just a quick update on the grant. We have filed the letter of intent that has to precede any application. That's a stipulation that the state puts on. So last August, when our previous grant was expiring, we had already took this into account, so we had to ask for permission from the Board of Commissioners to allow us to apply for a letter of intent or sign the letter of intent as well as for this upcoming grant. So I still haven't received any word as far as when the grant itself will be, when the application will be live, but once it is, we will be able to have that firmed up and submitted quickly, certainly by the deadline, since we already have permission from the Board of Commissioners to apply. It looks like from the communication, the grant this time is for $50,000. If you remember right, last year we had applied for $25,000, there was a $25,000 match, and then we had a per capita ratio that based on the amount of veterans in the community, so that brought us to our total of $76,000. We were told, it looks like in the communication this time it is $50,000 plus whatever that ratio formula that they determined based on the amount of veterans in that area. So we're not sure what that will amount to, but that was very clear in the communication that they had sent out. So I'll certainly let the committee know when that application is live, but right now our letter of intent is submitted and we're waiting for the next step.
So we're looking for recommendations, maybe brainstorming down the road.
Absolutely.
Maybe some of the veterans want to pitch some ideas. Yeah, so we have to wait to get the okay, I guess, before. Reports, resolutions, committee rules. We had, Mr. Delay had the one that he recommended, and I believe Mr. Pergandy has some also. I don't know what's,
Oh,
I want to
okay.
do,
On the organizational meeting amendment,
Yeah.
that's one of,
right,
our organizational at the first meeting.
Correct.
that,
I make a motion that we change our bylaws for our organizational meeting to be our first regular scheduled meeting after the first of the year. It'd be the first January meeting.
that's on page 3, Article 4, Section 1, and is this a constitution or a bylaws? If it's it says articles, committee rules, so is the question about if we need to vote on it today or take it under consideration. I think we have some other ones, though, that Mr. Pergandy has, so maybe we should take all of them under consideration and vote on it next time. That's okay with the maker of the motion, Mr. Van Tol, unless you want to, I guess our question is, do we need to read these one time and then vote on it next time? We'd have to ask our lawyer about it, but I think maybe to be safe, it'd be best to have all of them at once, have Mr. Pergandy read his. Is that okay with you? If we vote on it next time?
Yeah, we can vote on it next
Okay.
time.
All right. Pergandy.
Actually, the committee rules and the bylaws are sort of close.
Yeah, I think they're a little more fluid, you're right.
I'm wondering if we can just integrate the two into one document and call it either committee rules and bylaws, or bylaws and committee rules, or whatever.
Bylaws and administrative procedures.
Yeah, yeah. So if John, if you send me the last version, I'll roll it into this and then send it back to you so you can take a look at it. And then we bring it next meeting for everybody to take a look at. What do you think?
So,
Do you want to read some of those, Mr. Pergandy? Want to read some of your suggestions that you got or that you have?
Well, the suggestions that I got from people is really just some happy glads.
Yeah.
But what I've got here, the bylaws, it's the name of the organization, the purpose, the membership, which we could roll in when the election is into that. The term, that's the perfect place to put when the new election would be at the first January meeting. Regularly scheduled vacancy, officers and staff is one of the paragraphs. And then it gets into a lot of the
job descriptions.
duty descriptions, yeah, what Craig's going to do as the Director of Veterans Affairs, and then what the county service officer is going to do, what the assistant service officer is going to do. I think that's about it.
I'm just looking at some of the articles at the end about resolutions or motions should be reduced to writing, request of committee members supported, and be voted on. Just trying to see if it says you have to vote the next time or not. So I think we need it in writing. It sounds like we need to have it write that up and present it for us for next meeting.
What, the bylaws, you mean?
Right, the changes, yeah.
Yeah, I've got, and I only got changes from Mark and Crystal.
Yeah.
So if anybody else has any, give them to me. And I would say this would probably be the final draft that we take a look at, but I will roll the rules in with these, because I think there's already covered pretty much.
These a lot more detailed.
We just make the bylaws and then in the rules of the committee or the
Yeah.
commission, just make those administrative procedures or whatever, roll them together. It's easier to change administrative procedure than it is the bylaw.
Yeah, so we could have the administrative procedures at the end after the bylaws?
Right. And the organization could be in there.
Yeah.
I know at the county commission that if we have a resolution, there can be two-thirds, if there's two-thirds of the vote to pass it immediately, to make it immediate effect versus waiting till the next time. Great.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick point with the bylaws. If there are things, as Mr. Pagani was talking about with job descriptions and whatnot, I would still run that by Amber, just because with job descriptions, those are typically set. Mine would be from my immediate report, Mr. Barsha. So I would just get clarification from Amber when it relates to those types of things to make, before we get too far.
Right, I will make the changes, and then I'll shoot it to you on email, and then you can get it to who you think needs to have it.
Perfect.
Who's got the latest version of the rules?
I have the latest version of the rules.
Can you
Yeah, I
send
think-
those to me?
Absolutely.
I think you emailed them out. That was probably the latest from
I
the
did.
changes.
Yep, I included those.
That's probably the latest version.
We just got this morning.
Oh, did we get them this morning? Okay.
And with that email, it was just highlighted, with the organizational meeting, to Mr. Van Tol's point, we're obviously not in, we have a year, but while it was fresh in everybody's mind, I didn't want to, wait to just we figured we'd get the ball rolling now. But certainly if there were additional changes or whatnot, we could certainly look at those too. But I highlighted, in the email I highlighted, so it was very clear what language was changed in there to reflect,
Okay,
down
so
here.
these will become administrative procedures that'll be an addendum to the bylaws. Okay? Got it. Perfect.
Okay, so we don't need a motion at this time.
Well, then I withdraw my motion,
Okay, thank you.
seeing it wasn't seconded.
I think that's the old business. One other thing we had talked about is the rules of the Soldiers and Sailors Fund. I think somebody was going to look at those also. I think that you, John, was going to, the Soldiers and Sailors rules or whatever.
Well, it was the
Yeah,
burial reimbursement.
yeah, some of that, and then
Yeah, the lawyer was going to look and see exactly, because according to the statute,
Yeah,
you had to be an honorably discharged veteran,
yeah,
and you had to have less than $40,000 in assets.
And you have to
Minus-
have 1 day of combat service.
yeah.
Oh, you did?
I'm pretty sure that's in there.
Yeah, you had to have, well, you didn't have combat service, you had to have wartime service. You had to have wartime service, you had to be in during the war. And it's not a reserve, because the reserves aren't in war unless they're federally mobilized, like they have been off and on since 2000. So you had to be a wartime veteran, honorably discharged, and less than 40,000. And the guidelines I put together was a guideline or a questionnaire for the assets, to make sure that people had less than 40,000 in assets. And I made up I sent out a document to Craig, and I don't know, I gotta get that back on Word document so it can be adjusted better. Right now it's on Google Docs. So if I get that retyped up into Word document, we can look at that again later.
Right.
But we should add, if they got life insurance policy that came in, and then we can look at it and make adjustments.
At our last meeting, our old business, if you look, we did talk about Act 235 of 1911. I am meeting with Mark, Elder's aide, I can't remember his last name, Sologer, maybe it is, Mark Sologer, Monday, about that bill that he's introduced. I have to talk to Amber also because she had some comments on it about some changes. There's like there's an old bill from 1899 that talks about the millage and setting up the Veterans, Soldiers and Sailors Relief Fund. And he's got some things in there that we had some questions about, so I'm going to meet with them Monday and see about what their thinking is on that. And then also Jason, who's head of that committee, the Veterans Committee from up in Gladwin, wanted us to have some comments on it too. So, but anyway, we did talk about the $300, about the act, and I think Marilyn requested some clarification about what the act is stating in section 235.801. So I think we maybe need to get a little clarification on that also. And we talked about the option of paying everyone the $300 burial expense, no matter what their income level is. And then we have the burial assistance form, I think that John had worked on for the funeral homes to determine if the veteran's eligible, which we were leaving it up to the funeral homes. I talked to them there, and they really aren't vetting. They're not getting tax statements or anything like that to see what their income level is.
Very little questioning on what their assets are.
All right. Yeah. So we're wondering if we can maybe, if we weren't in contravening the law, to get it to everybody. So I guess that's still the question we have for
That was Amber. That was a
lawyer.
question for Amber.
All right, so I guess we're still sort of up in the air on that.
Well, I'll tell you what they do in Roscommon County. They have a form, it's very similar to what you have, John, that says, hey, this is description of the property and vehicles, real estate other than the homestead, vehicles, other personal property, stocks, bonds, checking account, savings account, et cetera, et cetera. And then they have another form, which actually gets signed by the Department of Veterans Affairs that says, yeah, we approve the payment of $300 to this individual
Right.
because they're under $40,000 in assets.
Yeah. Well, currently, we don't have any, the form that's filled out in Bay County is very generic and very just sloughed right off.
Right.
They don't bring in the other vehicles or snowmobiles or tractors or, because if you're a farmer, your homestead, the house itself, but the farm is an asset. And all the machinery and your horses and cows, those are all, they're all assets. And your snow machines and all your toys and boats.
Life
My feeling
insurance.
is if you don't act specifically, they don't have it. Well, you didn't ask me if I had a motorboat. You didn't ask me if I had a fishing boat. You didn't ask me if I had a canoe or a kayak or snowmobile, so
Yeah, life
when I put
insurance, you
together,
mentioned life
said, you
insurance here
have
too.
these things.
Okay, so I think we need to do a little,
Well, I think the lawyer needs to tell us what she thinks, because,
If we-
you
if we're
know,
allowed.
I'm of the opinion that, thank you for your service, but if you got over 40 grand in the bank, you don't need $300 from the county,
No,
and neither does your wife. Because right now, not only is the veteran getting $300 from Bay County, the wife is getting $300 from Bay County, and I think last quarter, we gave out $18,000 in burial benefits. So it's a sizable chunk of change. It ain't just, $300 here and there.
it was over $100,000, or real close to 100,000.
78,000 last year, is that what it was total, Mark? I think Crystal showed it to me, $78,000 last year.
maybe Mr. Goulet has a number.
No, I will certainly follow up with Amber on the language. I think what she was looking into, if I'm not mistaken, was there were actually two different statutes, and they, in a way, she'd be able to explain a lot better than I would, almost contradict each other. So it was requiring her to do a little bit more work, but I will certainly follow back up with her on that.
And that could be in the legislation too, I don't know, I'll have to take a look and see that specific act.
Now, the other thing you all got to realize, and I've got it, and they have a lot of the same stuff downstairs. There's all kinds of other benefits that a veteran that passes away gets. If you were disabled in the care of the VA, you get a $2,000 payment. It's quite a list. You get a headstone from the VA, you get $300.
Marker.
And you get another payment from the VA, what is it, Mark, 700?
The 700 or the 2,000 or depending on the
Disability level.
disability.
I was just going to ask, it depends on what their disability percentage is.
Right.
Correct.
More research needed, it looks like. Let's see, I was just looking at some of the old business, if there's anything else we need to look at. I think we took care of the rest of it. Any other old business? Maybe you can jog our memory.
No, not a new
Okay.
business, but you need a new flag out front.
Okay,
It's ripped.
out by the memorial?
Thank you.
Okay,
The American Legion sells them.
yeah,
Cost plus.
we can buy it, eh?
Cost us.
The other old business was Mr. Ewell, Thomas Ewell. I sent an email out to the gentleman from the church and also to the other person, Tim, about the family, if they knew any information on family. I actually was doing an internet search, and I couldn't find anything about the Ewell family in Bay City. There's a lot of Ewells out there, but I couldn't find anybody from Bay City. So I haven't heard back from the gentleman from his church or from Tim Eckstein about contacts, family contacts, if we, if we do, when we get the name on the plaque out there and the memorial to invite the family in for a ceremony. So I guess I will continue that. Is there any update on the etching, the monument?
No update with that. I may have a response filter. I've been having an issue with my email. IT was working on it, but I will, we were missing, it was disconnecting intermittently for whatever reason. So I may have it in there by now, but I'll.
It's a little chilly to do it right now.
Yeah.
So like I say, I'll keep looking for the family. Maybe I'll contact the member from his church and also Tim Eckstein again about family, if they know any family or contacts with the family, or I'll do an internet search, I guess, again, too. You can do an in-depth search, which you got to pay for. If you want to get more details on somebody or on a family, you have to pay a fee to track somebody down or the family. All right, any other old business?
How do you spell that family's name?
Ewell, Y-U-I-L-L, Thomas.
Okay, where,
Yeah.
that's driver's.
There were a lot of Thomas Ewells on the internet, but none that fit the category for him, for when he passed away. Any other old or new business? All right.
Bob,
Yep,
new business?
yep, new business.
I don't know, but I've been having trouble with my emails also. Is there a problem with the emails? I'm not getting any.
I don't know specifically. I know there was with my computer. I don't know about like email per se. My internet, or the office needed to be reinstalled, so it was just giving me some problems. But that was isolated to specifically my laptop. I don't know. I haven't seen any other communication or heard anything about email in general.
Has everybody else been getting emails from the county?
I got mine.
I haven't checked.
I use my own personal email.
Yeah, I got mine.
Okay.
Email.
So I've been receiving them.
I'll check with IT.
If Mike lets me in the office, I'll sign on the computer. See if I can get.
Any miscellaneous? Are you miscellaneous or are you announcements?
Either.
Either one, eh? Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So just real quick for the committee, and I'll provide more details later, but the office, Crystal was contacted by a gentleman, lives out on the west coast of the state, and they had came across the article for the Veteran Affairs Office, and they wanted to provide some artwork for the facility. So I had confirmation that it has shipped. So we're waiting for these pieces to show up, and as soon as they do, we'll definitely make sure that both the committee and, like I was telling Mr. Bekic at the beginning, let the Board of Commissioners know as well for their donation, because he's originally from this area, and it meant a lot for him to do this for the space. They're pretty decent size, like 48 inches by 32 in frames. They're pretty neat. He sent some over examples, so we see exactly what it was. They've got a really neat look to them. So once we receive those, I will certainly inform both the committee and the Board of Commissioners on that. It's pretty neat. Very nice of them.
We should probably ask Mark for an update, maybe. You want to be on the agenda? Do you have what's been happening in your office down there?
Nothing in particular. It's been particularly busy with the holiday. Obviously, I had a lot of phone calls to return, so no hot button issues that I'm aware of yet, so.
I'm doing CNP physicals, and I'm starting to see a lot of Blue Water Navy guys coming in from Vietnam exposure. Seeing more, I think, veterans who have not been in the system, getting into the system, Vietnam guys that have just sort of sat out and now their insurance has run out, and they say, I had one the other day, said his insurance ran out, and he's looking for some help for his diabetes or, any of the 14 different diseases that you can get the presumptive claim. It's an automatic, basically, is what it is. If you got diabetes, Parkinson's, and the 13 other ones that are out there. So if there's any veterans that are out there that haven't done anything with the VA, or your insurance is running out, or you got to pay out of pocket, you might stop in.
Yeah, and compensation claims are running about 4 to 6 months, air towards the 6-month side. The VA is extremely slow. Pension claims have been running 250 to 300 days. So the VA is not moving real quick. And
Probably
then,
getting an influx now with the Blue Water and.
especially with Blue Water, because now
Yeah.
they're 50,000, 200,000, however, whatever the estimate is these days, that they're running for an estimated number that could be coming into the system. So and some of them already have claims that have been denied, so now they're coming back up for review, appeal, that are still on appeal, so.
I've been seeing a lot of remands, a lot of remanded back claims have been turned down, and then they've gone to an administrative law judge, and they've remanded it back for more information. So looks like more veterans are taking that route too. If you've been turned down and you can go through that process, you can request a rehearing on it.
And they're trying to get through those on 125 days, so that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, there's a time frame on that, I know, yes. Yeah. Okay, any else? Any questions for Mark?
No, I have a question for Craig.
Okay.
Craig, have you made any headway on looking at the cost to move our contractor people to county employees?
Yeah, so I followed back up because there's a lot of components to that. It's not simply just picking out a wage and full-time and this and that. So you have certain union stipulations, if you will, so whatever classification that is in. So it's still ongoing, but we're getting closer. It's just there's a lot more thought into it than just picking, exactly. So looking at the job description, picking out the appropriate classification for that contract, that rate, and then we're moving forward. So should have something, I'm hoping, soon, but that's.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So I'm going to ask for citizens' input. We don't have it on the agenda. We probably should put it on the agenda because we talked about it before. So if there's any citizens' input at this time, didn't want to leave Mr. Zippler out here.
Of course. That's a quickie question. 2 years ago, next month, I was told that at the time the veterans, what the heck were you people called then? Soldiers and sailors.
Yeah.
That they don't, and I was told, word for word, we don't do prescriptions. Is that still the rule? Anybody?
What do you mean by that? You gotta explain a little. We don't do what?
Prescriptions. Doctor, no medication.
They don't pay.
They didn't, the soldier sailors didn't cover prescription bills.
Yeah.
Is that still the rule?
That's the way the rules were under Bruce Douglas. They didn't do prescription drugs. They would help. They didn't do medical bills. They did mostly furnaces, wells, helping the veterans' cars, whatever. But on medical bills, it was felt that they could talk to the hospitals on the medical bills and work around that way without losing their house because of their medical bills or whatever. I'm just guessing on that part, but the medical bills were never addressed from soldiers and sailors.
That was a stipulation.
Well, I'm talking
Bruce
strictly
Douglas
prescription
put in
drugs.
there.
prescriptions. That's the only thing I'm concerned about.
Prescription drugs, but you look at some of the prescription drugs are $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I would say that, we still cover the same things under the Soldiers and Sailors Act, it's just not executed by the Soldiers and Sailors Board, it's executed by this county Department of Veterans Affairs.
And I believe what Fred is asking is,
Yeah.
there any inclination of including prescription drugs in the future? That would be you'd have to look at the bottom line.
I think it's something we gotta look into. I can't off the top of my head say.
No, I wouldn't, I wouldn't recommend, one of the pills I take for a 30-day supply is $540, $560. Now, I wouldn't recommend approval every month of this guy coming in and saying, hey, I need my 30-day supply of Entresto. That's what I think. I'm talking hit or miss once every X amount of months, whatever you decide. Now, the Veterans Trust Fund will pay, they'll pay 2 months. But as far as this body, this group, or whatever it is, will you, or do you plan to allow a one-time allowance for that?
Are these veterans that have insurance, it's a copay that's so high, or they don't have insurance?
Medication I'm talking about,
Yeah.
particularly Entresto, the VA will not pay for it
Yeah.
because there is no, what they call that guy,
On their formulary.
patient advocate.
Yeah, it's not on the formulary, maybe.
Well, the two things he told me, word for word, there's no generic and it's too expensive.
Yeah.
Way to treat a 100% disabled veteran.
We probably have to take a look at our budget and, I guess, figure out how much that might add up to.
But then again, the VA might be saying there's another drug
Yeah,
that's not as expensive
Right.
that does the same thing.
right.
Well, there isn't. For this particular drug, there is not.
Your doctor wants this.
Yes, I don't want to, if they would come up with a generic in the next 2 years, I don't want almost as good as, I want the stuff that's been keeping me vertical.
Yeah.
And we know Entresto is working.
Sometimes a personal choice, which sometimes means you got to pay.
There are some drugs at the VA that they cannot fill because they do not have that on their formulary.
Right.
So, and I know some veterans out there pay $1,000 for one prescription because it's a special type of prescription. But their insurance or the VA won't cover it. And
And you
we
start,
need to look into this because it would cost
and
the
then-
county a lot of money.
and you start picking and choosing
Yeah.
who
Winners and
is going to
losers.
cover and not, and if there is,
Well, I'm not asking for month after month after month.
yeah.
A one-time deal every year, 2 years, whatever.
I guess we can look into it, I guess. All right.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? Otherwise, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.